10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked.
And church mourning is on its way.
Kamala has imported criminal migrants from prisons and jails, insane asylums and mental institutions from all around the world, from Venezuela to the Congo.
Hey, this is Donald Trump's house, brother.
They're coming from all over the world.
For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth.
But the day I take the oath of office, the migrant invasion of our country ends, and the restoration of our country begins.
No, I got an idea. I want to ask everybody, if you don't mind sharing, if you want, who you're thinking of voting for. It's there's this thing called an election coming up, and
Is that what you call it?
Right. I have to be honest with you. There's no way I would ever vote for Kamala Harris. I have to be honest with you. I almost didn't want to vote at all. So I've been really praying about it, because it's like, God forbid, do I become part of a system where I'm like electing somebody in that, I've been talking about for so long. So I have a dream. It's a very strange dream. I don't pay much attention to it. In the dream, and it was a couple of them, but this one was the one that stood out the most. In the dream, I, for some reason, was like, with one arm was carrying like the casket of our president. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it was open. But on the left-hand side of me, there was our president. So it was very strange. There was like, it was one in the casket, with the casket wide open. There was also, I remember there being like, I noticed there was moss on the bottom of the casket, moss that was growing there. But in the dream, the president was smiling, he was laughing, he was having a great old time, and here I am carrying this, and I didn't understand. I'm like, oh, and then I woke up and I'm like, oh, I get it. It's gonna be like a fake thing. Is it like he's in on it and it's a big, joke, that coffin dream that I had, or is it he's laughing and dancing because God has a plan? So today I got some interesting good news about Trump, because I even put something out. I was gonna like put a little feeler out, like a fleece, from the Bible, where it's like, okay, Lord, let me put this fleece out. If it's wet, I know what to do. So I thought of putting something out about tonight's. He's in the garden, Madison Square Garden, and I was like, if something terrible happens, I won't vote. But if nothing bad happens, I will. Like, I was thinking about putting this out there, and I said, that's kind of foolish. So I decided to instead just kind of pray and wait. And then I heard something today, just before talking to all of you, where, he went on Rogan and he basically said, I hired people because donors told me to. So like the first time around, he's admitting to the fact that he was led by sort of little selfish, like this guy donated a lot. So, and he says he's a good guy and I trust him. And that's why Bolton ended up being there. And so he kind of admitted to it. But so what's happening now, which I just found out, is that, his transition team, he's privately funding it. And none of them are parties that are like donors. So that was like, I felt like, okay, that's a step in the right direction. And I remembered the story of Nebuchadnezzar, that, he becomes a beast of the field, but then he's humbled and does do the right thing. So I'm like kind of still on the fence about all of this, but I want something good to come out of this. So I figure, what do you want?
Probably the wrong one to start with, Jacob, because my take on this thing, I've been around for a while, and I've probably been through more elections than anyone here. When I was a teenager, I learned all about the Federal Reserve System. I even vacationed on Jekyll Island.
Longer time horizon, how concerned are you about the potential impact of the dollar's status as the world? reserve currency.
And I had an understanding that government and big business today operate on the golden rule. Now, that's not the golden rule that we're used to, but their version of the golden rule is the guys with the gold make the rules. And I think we've gotten to a point where this country and many other countries, maybe even the majority of them, are captive. I mean, I was talking with my daughter this morning. We were talking about how hard it is even for a family with a husband and wife to make ends meet today.
Right.
My youngest son, he and his wife, they both have jobs, and they probably see their kids, my two grandsons, maybe 3 hours a day, except for weekends.
Who do you think is the fault for that? Besides people in general.
Well, yeah, it's just the way the system has evolved. I mean, it's we're in a debt economic system.
Who do you blame that?
We have $33 trillion in debt. Where does that money come from? That money comes out of thin air. It's produced by the central banks. I guess
my question is, what are you thinking? Like, do you want to stick with the current administration? They say they're changing, or do you trust that there's another way?
Where I'm going with this is, to be honest with you, I don't think it makes a difference. I think behind the scenes, they're both puppets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even our Congress and Senate and all that, they're all compromised. These people are compromised. And do
you think it's possible? Here's the question. Do you think it's possible? Say that they are compromised. Say that it could be, outside influence, whatever. It's the I don't know if you saw Rock. Did you see that? Did you see that video of Las Vegas where they dropped the checker flag?
The checker flag out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Liberty. Straight thanking the Masons. That's all I thought about. Black and white symbolism. I agree.
Travis said something that was interesting. He said, "I see like the finish line, almost like," and I said, "Wow." That's really a good way of looking at it, because I saw what you saw. I said, "Oh, that's it, black and white check."
Yeah, tinfoil hat. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So, but my question to you, Lance, is: say they're controlled, say they're all puppets, say it's just puppets of it. Do you think it's possible that God can use even Pharaoh to carry out His will?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, there's no question in my mind about that. No, He can use whoever He will. In fact, He did use Pharaoh. He hardened his heart. He used Nebuchadnezzar. I mean, it's he used King George III of England, who was a no good tyrant, against us, because you can't be set free unless you're captive. So George Washington wouldn't have a legacy if it wasn't for King George III.
Right.
God used him, and so all things work together for the good of those that love God.
Right. That's
and
true.
So he uses whomever he will. I think it definitely will go in a different direction if Trump's elected.
Well, so my question is: first of all, are you going to vote? I mean, if you're not comfortable saying so, just say I'm not telling you, and that's fine. We just move on. But are you? And who would you vote for if you did? You did.
Well,
we're moving on.
No, if I did vote, I would vote for Trump. But it's to me, it's almost like
it's sad that you feel that way.
I'm voting for the lesser of two evils, and if I'm voting, I'm still voting for evil. But I'm open with. I'm right with you.
Well, did God? Yeah, God used Pharaoh.
Yeah, God
Pharaoh
used
was not exactly that great.
And my personal opinion is, I think that's where it's going. I think God is going to use him.
Right.
I think your dream is spot on.
All right, so that's good.
Worth department.
What do you think, Rock?
Yeah, I have never voted. I've never played into the system. In my life, I learned at an early age, you can't really trust that much people that's working for the government. And I could be my own personal bias, but for my life, they do have a certain eye in certain neighborhoods and stuff. So I've dealt with that. So I've learned not to trust them. But just in the past few years, just on the spiritual side, you can definitely see that one side is openly demonic. They're so easy of a choice. You shouldn't even have to ask, because one side is denying Jesus Christ at the rallies. Yeah. They're openly pushing for abortion.
Now that being said, because, I talk about the Jesus Barabbas religion, right? Because, it's very easy for us to think that people are doing the right thing because they're saying that name. But many times, these are what they're called in scripture altars of Baal. And because a tree has to be known by its fruit. For example, Russell Brand was just doing something where he's like, everybody needs to wear their cross, whatever. He's also saying you have to be a revolutionary and you have to be willing to fight. And like Barabbas would fight. Barabbas was a murderer. But Jesus of Nazareth, on the other hand, was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So the question is, I don't know so much as it's going to be a great thing where everything's going to be completely noble, but I do feel that there's a certain push towards this is the way, right? They're the only ones that care about God. And I mean, I still think even if it's God's using it, so it doesn't matter if it's phony baloney or if it's the wrong thing, God's going to use it to bring about correction.
And you said it yourself, a wicked generation needs a wicked ruler, so
right.
Some towns, a lot of people need those extra stipulations, those regulations down. I like to think that most people are good, but they like to portray everybody as bad. So, but
right.
But at the moment, definitely you need more regulations to at least get all the crime off the street where people feel more comfortable. So I agree with that.
Well, I mean, and a great way to do that, sadly, would be to have some kind of a massive event happen. So then it has to and they're all, like I was saying in my last video, that they're all screaming, oh, it's going to be martial law. Oh, it's going to be civil war. And they're saying this as if it's a, like it's going to happen. Yeah. But if it did happen, then we would have martial law and we would have, that, but maybe that's what's needed. Or what if we can see something better? Like, I want to see Trump come in here and I want to know that maybe the first time around, like he said, I was motivated by donors. I made mistakes. I did wrong things. I'd like to hear him say that, Fauci was not a great guy because he gave him a medal on his last day in office. I'd like to see that. But I mean, he seems
talk of sheep. I've seen no good fruit come from the man.
Okay.
I've never seen anything good come from the man. He says all kinds of wonderful, glorious things.
So then the question becomes, can somebody who is rotten to the core, can they have a change of heart? Can they be like Paul and have that flip?
But you would see it through their fruit is what I'm saying. His actions are still the same. It's all talk.
It's going to eventually happen to everybody.
Yeah, well, eventually it will. Yeah, and that's the good news is a lot of people don't realize this, that it will happen to everybody. God's not a failure. God's not a failure.
Every person in his own order.
Right.
I'm voting for the third candidate that nobody's talking about, which is God.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's actually what I mean is that, I can only in New York, if I wanted to vote, I can only vote for two. And if I honestly, if Robert Kennedy was in the race, like really in the race, he's actually still essentially on the ballot. I still have a feeling that somehow things are going to happen with him.
The best political speeches I've ever heard. It seemed incredibly sincere. It came from the heart. And it also fulfilled a couple of things that I've been sharing for a while. I had a dream. Yeah, that's right. Another one of them dreams. Exactly 1 month from his speech. 30 days, exactly a month where I had this dream. Robert Kennedy Jr. is speaking to a large crowd. He speaks of no longer being in the shadow of another. I begin clapping for him. He motions to stop. He's like, no, no, no. And I don't stop. I stand up. I clap louder. Then people start to join in. Then everyone is cheering and shouting for him. This is interesting. This is interesting. It's exactly 30 days before this. Now, I've been on this Kennedy, thing lately. I've been sharing some things. But that's okay, because when it comes to Robert Kennedy Jr. and the Trumpster, what more can I say? The two of them have come together exactly as I and, you know, probably a couple of other wrestling fans out there like 4VKM on YouTube deduced in a video that I did. Take a wild guess when, exactly 1 year and 19 days ago. Yeah, I did this video. Oh no, it's connected. The SummerSlam is here. And here you see the thumbnail of it, and you see Vince McMahon behind Trump, right? And I brought up a video that I had done a long time before that, August 5th, 2023, which was 1 year and 19 days ago, where I talk about the WrestleMania where the Team Kennedy and Team McMahon come together in such a way, it's unexplainable. I think to myself, oh, maybe this is what we're going to be looking for. Maybe Bobby Kennedy is going to end up working for Trump. Take a look.
I'd like to remind people that Vince McMahon and Donald Trump had a hair versus hair match at WrestleMania 23. I've talked about this on the show. Now this is where you get the goosebumps and everything gets really crazy. It was basically you had Donald Trump and you had Vince McMahon, and both of them had a wrestler, and the main event would be those two wrestlers fighting each other in the ring. Okay, whoever lost the match, the winner of the match, the manager will say, whether it's Donald or Vince, get to shave the hair of the other one. It's strange, because let's just take a look at the wrestlers for a second. Vincent Kennedy McMahon, that's his middle name, Kennedy. A lot of people like to connect him to the Kennedys for whatever reason. His wrestler was named Umaga. Umaga is spelled U-MAGA. That's quite a coincidence, you would think. So here you have a picture of MAGA being partnered with a Kennedy on one side of the ring. And then on the other side of the ring, you have Bobby. That's Robert. It's a nickname for Robert. And Donald Trump. Bobby's last name is Lashley. When you think of Lash, 40 lashes. 40 being WrestleMania the day before the eclipse. 2024. Very strange. So we have Bobby and Trump, and we have Kennedy and UMAGA. I think that's coincidental. It kind of makes it look like maybe it's not a real fight. Maybe on either side, whoever wins, it's still Trump and Kennedy and Trump. But it makes me question, it's like, is this whole election thing, are the two of them are going to come together? Is that what it means? Or is it going to be kind of one of those operations? So Kennedy ends up getting his hair shaved. Yeah. And the weird part is, in that same match, and this is where Andrew came in, because he shared this on X, and there's his Twitter right there, next stop, ... Andrew. Bobby Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy, because that's what he was known as in wrestling. His name was Mr. Kennedy. He won the Money in the Bank. And I thought to myself when I was talking to Andrew, I said, if he ends up working for Trump, that would be like winning the Money in the Bank, right? He'd probably get a lot of money and everything else. But, I said a long time ago that Robert Kennedy and Trump, because of that Money in the Bank that Mr. Kennedy won from that WrestleMania, it's like it's been pre-programmed. So it's one of these things where I kind of feel like it's going to happen, but can God do something about it?
See the Hindu version of Tulsi play out.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it already happened, right? So like Tulsi's with him. She's speaking on his behalf today. They're like the new Justice League. It's strange to see all this stuff come together, especially because you all been watching for so long. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another live episode of Jacob's Ladder. And as you can tell, we have quite the show on our hands today. Almost like it's a movie. Like a superhero movie. where our hero may not be the nicest of heroes after all. It's very strange. But, you know, is that a good thing? You know, like, I don't want to like hate on it. I don't want to hate on it.
I'm voting for Trump all the way. I mean, I don't understand why this world's got to be so evil. I'm sitting here in a dream, or in a different reality, sitting here watching all the evil stuff go on. And I'm like, how's people not doing anything about this?
Well, let me ask you a question. What are you doing about it? You're here, right? So I mean,
yeah,
you gotta
I'm here. I'm praying. I pray to God.
How's your life? Are you doing things in your life to make an improvement?
Yes, sir.
So I mean, so change is happening, right?
Yes, sir.
It's possible. How much better is your life now that you've been doing that?
Well, it's a lot better. I mean, I was I could tell everybody. I've talked to everybody. I'm a recovering drug addict.
Okay. Wow, amazing.
6 years clean.
Oh my God, that's what we celebrate. Congratulations, brother.
I get my college education. You know, I'm graduating criminal justice administration next June.
Wow, that's huge.
Yes, sir. I mean,
wow. So we went from like the world stinks to all of a sudden, like, look at how cool your life is. Look at all you've overcome. And that's the thing. I wrote this poem a long time ago, and I turned it into a song. What do you see? I don't know if you follow me on X. See if you can find it. It's called What Do You See?
I follow you on X.
And it's like, I went outside one day and I was kind of down in the dumps, and I was looking at everything that was wrong. And then I thought to myself, what am I doing? Now let me go outside and look for everything that's right.
What do you see? What do you want to believe? Empty garbage cans in the street, maggots crawling looking for me. The snake hides beneath the doghouse, surrounded by leaves. The pool runs for no one. The weeds overcome the surrounding concrete. Colored mulch cover the ant and termite kingdoms as the woodpecker burrows into a dying tree. The flowers shrivel while the neighbors pretend to be civil, hiding their misery. The truck carrying oxygen squeals as it fills the container so a young child can breathe. The rusted muscle car sputters, sounding like thunder, as the middle-aged man pretends to yell again, but no one is deceived. What do you see? What do you want to believe? The day is long past now, and it is time for the landscapers to go to sleep. Perhaps tomorrow all the beauty around them they will once again see. What do you see? What do you want to believe? The sun rises, and this rising sun the landscaper meets. He returns to learn a different lesson this week. The vine blooms purple with delicate flowers, a heart-shaped bush above the sun garden towers, an ocean of green beneath his feet, children laughing as they play in the street. Neighbors putting aside their worry and ignoring their hurry to shake hands and allowing eyes to meet. The cool breeze comforts and wipes away the day's heat. A loving home waits family to embrace, a soft bed to ease weary feet. Job well done, good, noble servant now. Enjoy the beauty of your labor as you take your seat. You have chosen well to see heaven instead of hell. It's always better to choose joy over misery. What do you see? What do you want to be? What do you see? What do you want to believe? What do you see? What do you want to be?
There comes a time in scripture where it says those that are outside, leave them outside. The dogs, the sorcerers, you know, all these messed up people, they're outside. You're supposed to come into the inner room and forget the outer court. We're told stop worrying about the outer court. This is your problem. You're worrying about the outer court. That's why you're a little down in the dumps. Forget about it. I want you to, from now on, look at your life. Look at what you've become. My God, I don't know that many drug addicts that can just be clean. You know, I mean,
I turned around and walked away from it. I mean, I dropped it and walked away. I was done. I mean, and plus, I don't smoke tobacco anymore. I stopped after my dad, right before my dad died of cancer.
Amazing.
I quit smoking. I mean, God's changed my life. I think I've told you before. I lost some children.
Yeah.
I lost 3 boys. I mean, they didn't die. They were taken out of custody.
Yeah.
And anyway, God gave me a second chance to be a father again. And
now,
my son,
didn't we communicate? And were you in communication with them at that time when we first reached out to me?
Yeah, I was, but God gave me a second chance to be a better father, and
Right.
I'm not screwing it over this time.
Isn't that
I want
amazing?
to be. Yes, sir. I want to. It's. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm happy for everything.
Oh, man, that's awesome, dude. And we're proud of you. And all of a sudden now I feel good. At first it felt like you were a little heavy. we gotta remind ourselves about our wins.
Yeah. Like the guy I work for, I drive a truck.
Okay.
Drive out in West Texas. I always talk. I sent you that picture the other day about the the moon and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the guy I work for, it's my my physical appearance. My teeth were all messed up.
Mm-hmm.
God came in, but God came in and allowed this man to get my teeth fixed. So now
Right.
I can smile every day.
Wow, another little bit of a miracle. See, when you do the right thing, when you put the right foot forward, things start to get better and you start to see blessings. They come. Do you want to weigh in on the whole election thing? You want to tell people what you're thinking?
Yeah, sure. I was all in on Trump until I found out some facts, which I can't back up right this second. A corporation has been terminated. The U.S. corporation was terminated in, I believe it was 2018, and filed bankruptcy in Tampa, Florida. The system that we've been enslaved in since day one and is gone, and we have to rebuild our republic from scratch. Exactly.
Do you think that Donald Trump can help with that?
I'm kind of along with Lancelot there.
And me. I'm a big time skeptic. I don't want to go into, I once again, as Travis said, tree's known by its fruit. I guess we're going to see.
Well, here's the thing. I foresee some things, call it intuition, call it from God, because I do follow the prophets. I'm very big on them. Thinking
tell me
you're
what
one
you've
also, believe, by the way. I've told you this before.
Oh.
And anyways, well, whatever. You get some insight, brothers.
Well, I mean, look, if you're looking for stuff, you find stuff now and then, right? So it's like, and you're doing it. So,
Yeah, well, people fail because of the lack of knowledge. It says it right in the Bible.
Yeah. Well,
so
people are stuck in
you got to get as much knowledge as you can. I'm relearning history, brother. I don't know anything. It's all lies since we were born.
Well, that's what happened with Paul. Was thought he knew it all. Paul thought he knew it all, and then he was humbled, and put on his face down in the dirt, and then he ended up realizing he was blind. So it's like when the truth of God really hits you, when you start to realize, oh my God, everything that I thought I knew. Like I used to think that there was a place where God's going to torture you endlessly, if you don't get baptized the right way. It's like when the truth comes, it's like, oh my God, I knew nothing, you know? And
exactly.
So if you seek and you're going to find,
Yeah, and I'm finding, brother. I'm finding.
Yeah.
What's up? It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I saw you walking a lot. You were enjoying going outside. You were doing a lot of stuff. What are you thinking for the election?
I already voted.
Who'd you vote? Can you tell us or no?
I voted for Trump, but I can't say it here.
Well, you did.
Out the public because they're Trump haters.
Okay, so you don't want me to put this in my video?
Oh, you could put it in the video.
Woohoo! That's a girl.
I gotta vote for my family.
I love it. All right. And you're doing well. You look so much better than even the last time we talked. And you're not wearing your oxygen.
Well, the doctor says 1 to 2 liters when I need it.
And
So when
you were telling the truth when you said you had
get back on my oxygen.
Yeah, you said you had a dream that was going to happen, and now here it is.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It was so. Your book was so detailed that, like, especially the first part. Well, because I work in the medical field, when you were describing like the girl coming in off the street, you know, coming in, and the EMT guy, and I was just like, I felt like I was in the emergency room with them, and I was like, wow.
Her name is Sophia.
Yeah, it was.
Sophia is another word for wisdom. In scripture, wisdom is a tree of life. So it's kind of like wisdom gives birth to, you know, it's there's a lot of symbolism and a lot of stuff. Like I wrote stuff. Has everybody? You all haven't read the book, have you? Has everybody read it?
I've read it. I read both of them. I have the original copy.
Yeah, you have the first edition. So
and the second.
You know, I wrote it in such a way that it's kind of cool on one level, but there's like a whole other level. So I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I'm reading it a second time. I know that there's stuff in there that I probably missed. I can tell you that I think I read the first 3 chapters and then went with my son to, like, I don't know, we were going to like some place to go in the water. So I got it in the summertime, and I literally verbatim told him the first 3 chapters, and I was like, "You have to read this book."
That's awesome.
And he was like, "Wow, Mom, it's so descriptive." I'm like, "That's the way it's written. It's so good."
Yeah, it really is. I'm glad that it means a lot to you. That's the reason why I started my YouTube channel, was so that I could tell people about the novel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's interesting. You know, the day that we're in right now, you know,
it's very, I think the reason I liked it a lot is because of the places that I've worked, stuff that you were saying about religion and stuff, and the stuff that you were saying about the institution. I've worked in places. I've been in a place like that.
Oh, there you are. What's up, Mary Lou? What you doing? Where are the girls?
The girls don't want to be on camera.
Good for them. They're good for them. They're like, and then he took it, and then he put it, and then
they were
20,000 people have watched it, Mom.
It's
it's cool. I mean, it really felt pretty awesome. How are things going with you?
Oh, they're going. It's,
yeah.
You know, life is tough, you know, all around, but it's, you know, got to keep persevering and.
All right, I love you all. I'll talk to you soon. We'll do it again in 2 weeks.